Welcome friends. Now let's discuss today's editorial of Indian Express newspaper. Now on the front page itself there is the mention of dirty bomb. Our defense minister has warned Russia against using the nuclear option because that will be a disaster for the entire world, not just for Ukraine. Now let's scroll down to the editorial page. Now this is the editorial page, 27th of October. So let's begin with the quotation of the day, and this is by George Eliot, one of my favorite writers. The quotation is, "Animals are such agreeable friends. They ask no questions and they ask no criticism." And this is the reference is to this article. Basically it is about cats. Generally हम लोग ये समझते हैं that cat is a sign of bad omen, or it is a bad omen. मतलब कुछ ना कुछ बुरा हो जाएगा अगर काली बिल्ली देख ली तो कुछ ना कुछ तो बुरा हो ही जाएगा. But in this article points out that in a journal some research papers have been published which show that cats also form bonds of affection with human beings. So cats are not a sign of bad luck. But आज के पूरे एडिटोरियल में एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल है एंड इट इज दिस वन, misleading exit. Now as these two lines point out, FATF has removed Pakistan from its grey list, but Delhi cannot afford to let down its guard. Now this is an article which I discussed even yesterday, but इस बार इस आर्टिकल में थोड़े और न्यूज आए हुए हैं with respect to FATF and some other issues related to FATF. हाँ, और एग्जाम के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से उस पर क्वेश्चन बन सकता है, MCQ भी बन सकता है और आंसर राइटिंग में भी बन सकता है. ना पहली चीज तो ये जाननी चाहिए कि ग्रे लिस्ट जिसको हम कहते हैं, दिस इज ओनली अ इनफॉर्मल टर्म. इवन द ब्लैक लिस्ट विच वी जनरली रिफर टू, दैट इज ऑल्सो अ इनफॉर्मल टर्म. जो करेक्ट टर्मिनोलॉजी है, मैं कल भी बताया था, एंड द करेक्ट टर्मिनोलॉजी फॉर black list is high risk jurisdictions subject to a call for action. This is what the blacklist countries are formally known as. So they can give you a question MCQ on this. Second thing, what are the conditions on which FATF grey listing is done? So पहले तो आप ये जान लो that FATF basically releases FATF recommendations or FATF standards. Those countries who do not comply with this, they will ultimately be moved to the grey list or the blacklist. In an exam they can ask you which are the countries which are still in blacklist. 3 countries हैं, North Korea, Iran and Myanmar. These are the only 3 countries that are there in blacklist in the entire world, and Pakistan, as we all know, has exited from grey list. And as I was saying, there are 3 conditions, 3 things on which countries are judged. One is anti-money laundering. Second, combating financing of terrorism, CFT जिसको कहते हैं, AML, CFT, and one more is proliferation financing, PF. Now, based on these criterions, countries are judged. And as the article points out that Pakistan has been successful in proving to United States and China that it has taken action on these fronts. So, इसलिए उसको अभी फिलहाल निकाल दिया है ग्रे लिस्ट से. But in the conclusion, the writer says that India cannot lower its guard. And one more question which you can get from an exam point of view is, where is the headquarter of FATF located? Now headquarters है Paris में. This you should know. Now next article is about Google, and the Competition Commission of India has again imposed a penalty of more than 1,000 crore on Google for abusing its dominant position in the Android mobile device ecosystem. And one of the reasons why this fine has been imposed is because CCI or Competition Commission of India thinks that, or has reached the conclusion that, the Play Store of Google mandated exclusive use of Google Play's billing system, and it put India's UPI at a disadvantage. So this was one of the reasons. And another reason is the company, means Google, ventured into agreements such as mobile application distribution agreement. इससे YouTube को फायदा मिलता था because they reached agreement with manufacturers to install Google Chrome on Android devices. So in this article, the conclusion is that markets are not or let's say free markets are not a panacea. Even free markets can fail. So best thing is protect competition but not any competitor. Now the next article is room to spend. This is basically an article that is analyzing the fiscal capacity of different states. और यहाँ पे 13 Indian states को analyze किया है. And in the article, the writer says that out of all of this, out of these 13 states which constitute 85% of India's GDP, these 13 states, मतलब आंध्रा, गुजरात, हरियाणा, कर्नाटका, केरला, मध्य प्रदेश, महाराष्ट्र, पंजाब, राजस्थान, तमिलनाडु, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. Out of these, only 8 states will have adequate resources to fully fund or exceed their budgeted capex. So you should know the names of these 8 states: Andhra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal. And from a objective type point of view, or let's say MCQ type questions से point of view, they can ask you what is off budget borrowing. तो ये आपको पता होना चाहिए that what is off budget borrowing by Indian states. और एक और fact आपको जानना चाहिए that it mentions Article 293 of the Constitution of India. आपको ये तो जानना ही चाहिए that what is the Article 293 of the Constitution. Basically deals with borrowing by states. If you see here, these are the provisions that are there in this article. So here the writer is quoting this, and the best summary that you can read about this article is this one. With the global economic environment taking a turn for the worse, with demand slowing down in advanced economies and continued aggressive monetary tightening by central banks, how effectively states of India ramp up their spending will have a critical bearing on the pace of Indian economy grows in the second half of the year. Now, one more thing you should keep in mind is that there are two kinds of expenditures: capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. And this article is talking about capital expenditure. So what is the difference between capital expenditure and revenue expenditure? Now, मोटे तौर पे आपको बताता हूँ that when we do capital investment, let's say capital expenditure, it creates assets. Asset creation को कहते हैं capital expenditure. So these assets will ultimately in future give us more returns, more money. Whereas revenue expenditure, for example, giving salary, this is something which comes under revenue expenditure. Now paying somebody salary might be a good thing, but long term के लिए country के लिए sustainable नहीं है, because this will not give us returns, right? Yes, to the person who got the salary, that is okay, but for the country as a whole, the paying salary won't generate new income. Okay, so the emphasis should be on capital expenditure. So when you read articles, you should keep in mind what type of questions can come. ठीक है, so off budgeting क्या होता है, what is the difference between capital budget and revenue budget, and the name of these important states. Now the last article that I want to discuss is this one, a narrower Assam. Now you might have heard the Chief Minister of Assam, again he's in news, and this time he's talking about Mia Museum. तो इस article में बस इतना ही लिखा हुआ that such polarizing tactics should be avoided because unnecessarily it polarizes society. And second, it highlights that the state's political leadership should in fact celebrate the multiple cultural yarns that constitute the weave of Assamese identity and citizenship. But yes, on the flip side, you can also argue that the state police have said that these groups have alleged links with terrorist outfits in Bangladesh. So let's hope that the truth comes out, and whatever the truth is, whoever is wrong is held to account, and unnecessarily polarizing statements are not made, because India has a proud history of secularism, and it is always a good idea to be secular as much as possible and not to drag religion in everything that we do in life.